In Washington, a landmark decision from the Supreme Court against physician-assisted suicide. In outer space, heat and darkness for the crew aboard the Mir space station as they struggle to regain power. And in sports, Mike Tyson weighs in for his rematch with Evander Holyfield. It's Friday, June 27, 1997.
This is NBC News at Sunrise with Linda Bester.
Good morning, everyone. Well, the Supreme Court ruling was unanimous, but right-to-die advocates, including Dr. Jack Kevorkian, are pledging to continue their work despite the justice's decision against assisted suicide. More on the ruling from NBC's Pete Williams.
The court was unanimous in ruling that dying patients have no fundamental right to a doctor's help in controlling the manner of their own deaths. The AMA thought the justices got it just right.
They have acknowledged the fact that it is outside of the physician's role, that physician-assisted suicide is fundamentally outside of the physician's role as a healer.
Doctors from 2 states had argued that because it's already legal to help terminal patients on life support pull the plug when they want to die, it's unfair to refuse help to other terminal patients who are not on life support but also want to die. But the Supreme Court disagreed, saying it's one thing when a patient refuses medical treatment and dies from the disease, quite another when the doctor assists the patient to die by giving a lethal dose and death results from a drug. Doctors who brought this legal challenge say the court ducked the hard issue.
So we are back with the status quo, which is an arbitrary, unpredictable, secretive process for those physicians who are willing to work with their terminal patients who face this hard decision.
But state officials defend the ban on assisted suicide, saying they need to protect the poor from becoming unwitting victims.
That in a regime of managed care, those groups that are already exposed because they are already disadvantaged in the healthcare arena would be further at risk.
This decision now leaves it up to the states. They're free to pass laws allowing assisted suicide if they want to, or continuing to ban it. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
Reaction to the ruling came in right away from the nation's most prominent advocate of doctor-assisted suicide. In Detroit, Dr. Jack Kevorkian's lawyer, Jeffrey Hager, blasted the ruling as amateurish. Hager predicted that now desperately ill people will just resort to violent methods to end their lives.
Apparently, Justice Rehnquist prefers the shotgun in the mouth approach to the caring medical approach that's advocated by Dr. Kevorkian.
Hager also said his famous client would continue his work. Well, the court announced 2 other major decisions on Thursday. A law designed to shield children from porn on the internet was struck down. Now, President Clinton says he'll meet with industry leaders, parents, and teachers to come up with a law that works. Meanwhile, the court's other decision upheld the president's power of a line-item veto. The commander of the space station Mir says the situation aboard his crippled spacecraft has finally stabilized. It's a relief for many who've been watching anxiously from Earth. But there is a lot of work to be done to get Mir up to full strength. NBC's Robert Hager explains.
Russian engineers may try today to begin turning back on some of Mir's vital systems. But U.S. space officials warn the situation aboard is still serious. Lights dim, the air aboard sticky, and temperatures swinging from warm to cool and back. This as the Russians are working on a plan to send up an unmanned cargo ship with a repair kit the 1st or 2nd week of July and begin repairs with a spacewalk in mid-July. NASA's Frank Culbertson says it won't be easy.
Well, I think it's going to be a very difficult job, and I think that it's going to be complicated for the crew.
Meantime, NASA revealed that in the seconds before the accident happened, astronaut Michael Foale and his Russian colleagues were so alarmed they made a break toward the Soyuz spacecraft, the only means of escaping Mir. Only after the impact were they certain they wouldn't have to abandon Mir. Now, the question is, can Mir be repaired? And if so, how well?
Should the U.S. continue to send astronauts up for extended stays? Or should the U.S. cut back to an occasional shuttle mission to simply rendezvous and deliver supplies? A decision for NASA to make, based on when and if the Mir can be repaired and how well it can be repaired. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
In health news, medical researchers say they've made a major breakthrough in their understanding of Parkinson's disease, and it comes down to a genetic link. Details from NBC's chief science correspondent, Robert Bazell.
Michael Tausig has Parkinson's disease, a brain disorder characterized by tremors and difficulty moving. 500,000 Americans suffer Parkinson's. Now researchers have isolated a gene that causes Parkinson's in a tiny percentage of cases. Why is this important for the general study of the disease?
It opens up a door through which we hope to be able to walk, and many others will walk, in learning about the mechanism of Parkinson's disease in general.
The symbols that are dark are people with Parkinson's disease.
The medical detective story began when Dr. Lawrence Golby was treating two cousins from Italy who were both diagnosed at an early age.
I discovered that they were both from the same little village in the hills outside of Salerno.
It turned out that the village, called Contorsi, was home to a large family with a high incidence of Parkinson's, tracing its origins back to the 1600s. Using blood samples from the family, scientists at the NIH found the gene. Next comes the scientific challenge of finding out exactly how mutations in that gene cause the degeneration in the brain that is the hallmark of Parkinson's disease. And that in turn could lead to better medications for Michael Tausig and all patients with the cruel disease.
Make a fist like that.
Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
Same thing.
Right now, the Senate is debating legislation that would nearly double the cigarette tax to 46 cents a pack. However, Senator Ted Kennedy says that's not enough. He wants to triple the tax, a proposal which has gained the support of the White House. The money would be used to extend health insurance coverage to millions of needy children. Now to Wall Street. Stocks continued their retreat on Thursday, driven by pressure from rising bond market interest rates. The Dow Jones Industrials dropped nearly 36 points. The Nasdaq index fell almost 10. And joining us now with our first look at today's business from London is CNBC's Tom Costello. Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Linda. Happy Friday. The dollar strengthened overnight following gloomy forecasts for the Japanese economy, and the Japanese stock market also slid 101 points ahead of the weekend. Here in London this morning, stocks are down 28 at 46.29 amid concern of higher taxes and higher interest rates here in the UK. Linda.
Tom, what's the latest on that Swiss company wanting to buy Scudder?
That's right. Zurich Group is now confirming the story that we first reported May 30th. It is indeed buying the privately held Scudder, Stevens, and Clark of the U.S. The deal will create a global investment firm valued at more than $2 billion.
Wow. Okay, now high-tech stocks were pretty volatile here yesterday, so how are they trading in London this morning?
Well, they're a bit higher this morning in a rather mixed market. Digital right now is up a quarter at 35 3/4. Intel right now is up 3/8. There's a report this morning that the two may settle their legal differences.
Okay, Tom, thanks very much. CNBC's Tom Costello. And coming up on NBC News at Sunrise, Joe Witty's forecast. Then, was it compassion or murder? A Florida doctor learns his fate in court after the death of a cancer patient. And in baseball, a San Diego Sluggers inside the park grand slam.